Be cool, be kind, be classy. The cupcakes are sweet and sexy. Have fun, enjoy the journey. Just have a good attorney. No big whoop, no biggie. She lives near New York City. Not just a YouTube show. When you know, you better grab a straw. Learn about the law. It's cool here in the shade, sipping motions of lemonade. Cool heads will prevail, kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Oh, Melanie Little is going live. Oh no, where is Melanie? Follow the island's melody. There's a concert within reach. No surprise, she's at Jones Beach. She heard some music far away. Captain Jack Stack Harbor Bay. He sings and his piano plays. Not all sounds are waterways. Speaking Yiddish and Latin, it's not just for Manhattan. It's for Goethe and Machegas. Ridiculous that insanus. Oy vey, Marcus. Proceed, that's for schmucks. Be cool, be kind, be classy. My cupcakes are sweet and sassy. Not just a YouTube show. When you know. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Melanie Little is going live.
Hello, happy Monday. Happy Monday, my friends. Today is Monday, September 8th, 2025. Thanks so much for coming to hang out with me during your lunch hour. Some of you have lunch hour today. I was, sorry I'm late. I was on the phone with the court trying to get the Zoom information because Kelsey Fitzsimmons has not been released from jail. Remember how we covered the story over a week ago? And we were told, or the news was reporting, that Kelsey Fitzsimmons had been released to the custody of her mother and her stepfather. That is not true. She still sits in jail, and there's a bail hearing at 2 p.m. So I called Essex Superior Court in Salem, which is where this is supposed to happen. And they told me, yeah, we're not doing Zoom. It's in person only. And no, there's not going to be a camera in the courtroom. So I'm waiting to hear if I can get any further information to see if for some reason the person who I spoke to gave me the wrong information. But my Massachusetts friends, a lot of stuff is being hidden from you. And if I were you, I'd be pretty outraged about it because I'm outraged about it. I don't live in Massachusetts, as you know. The other thing that's being hidden from you is this Joshua Hubert trial, which openings started allegedly this morning. The jury was picked on Thursday. They had a day off on Friday. And then today, openings began in Worcester. I called Worcester this morning and I said, can I have the Zoom information for the Hubert trial? They said, oh, no, we don't have Zoom here. It's in person only. If you want to come, you can come. Oh, Mike Crawford is going to the bail hearing? Good. Good. Does he live in Salem? Good. Excellent. And so the Joshua Hubert trial is not going to be televised either. Not only is it not going to be televised, Court TV made a motion to have a camera in there. I'll show you the motion papers, the papers. Actually, it's the Commonwealth's opposition that I have because I can't get the original motion by Court TV and I can't get the judge's order. But apparently the judge said no cameras. And I also have the Commonwealth statement of the case about Joshua Hubert. Some of you may not know about it. We touched on it briefly during one of the last streams that we did, and you guys were interested in it. In fact, you guys brought it to my attention. And then Kyle Sharkey, by the way, do you want to be an intern? Because you send me all the tea. Apparently, Turtle Boy reported on this Josh Hubert case all the way back when it happened in 2017. And it's a wild case. It's just going to trial now. And some other information has come out that is quite shocking in the Hubert case. So let's get to it. Let me give you, nobody's covering it, by the way. Nobody's covering it. Mass Live is covering it. Sometimes I can access the articles. Sometimes they're behind a paywall. And that's about it. Where's your mainstream media, Massachusetts? Here's the story. of what happened to the little 7-year-old girl back in 2017 who was allegedly kidnapped, strangled, raped, thrown off the I-290 bridge in Worcester into Lake Quinsigamond, and lived. She swam 100 yards to shore and ran up the shore, saw a house, knocked on the door at 4 a.m., and a woman answered the door and called the police. It's a horrendous story, and it goes all the way back to 2017. And then what had happened was he was charged with attempted murder. He's 35 years old, apparently best friends with her dad. There was a barbecue. He kidnapped her at something like 2:30 in the morning, drove her around in his car for at least an hour, threw her off the bridge, bound and gagged. She didn't disclose the SA or the grape, according to YouTube, as they make me say, until 2022. And that's when the charges were upgraded to include SA of a child. The bond was not increased. The bail was not increased. He was still out on the $50,000 cash that he had posted back in 2017. And even though the charges were upgraded, he was released on his own recognizance. He has maintained his innocence since 2017. His lawyer swears he didn't do it. If you can't handle it, I totally get it. If you can't handle it, this is going to be a hard one. But we can't watch it anyway. All I can do is report on the bare bones information that I'm going to get. Here's where it gets weird. 48 hours after the day that the 7-year-old was thrown from and they claim they've got surveillance video of his car in the area, and they claim they have a witness seeing him throw something off the bridge. 48 hours later, Joshua Hubert was scheduled to testify in a case about police corruption in Worcester as a witness for the prosecution, because some years prior he worked as a dispatcher in Worcester PD. Apparently, there was DNA in the girl's underwear, seminal DNA, that did not match Josh Hubert, but it matches her father. The girl claims her father never did anything improper, and it's not DNA that could be obtained from maybe him doing her laundry. It's seminal DNA. I don't get speechless a lot, but people swear this guy's a good guy. I don't know him. When I first read the story, I'm like, guy's guilty as hell. They got surveillance video of him driving around the bridge. Yeah, this is in Worcester. This is in Worcester, and it's bad. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it, give you a little bit more detail, and then we're going to look at the original news reporting, because originally the mainstream media did talk about this case. I've got, WBZ. I've got an interview with the woman whose house she went to. I've got the attorney for Joshua Hubert saying that his client is innocent. And this is just an article from yesterday on Mass Live. What we know. Trial begins years after Worcester girl was raped, thrown from bridge, and survived. This bridge is wicked high, too. It's wicked high. The fact that she survived is shocking. Nearly a decade ago, a 7-year-old girl showed up on a stranger's porch in Shrewsbury at 4 a.m, soaked in her pajamas and covered in bruises. She said she'd just been thrown off a bridge by her friend Josh. Now, the man that she named, Joshua Hubert of Worcester, is finally on trial, accused of the kidnapping, raped, and attempted murder of the child. Hubert is charged with forcible child rape aggravated by age, 2 counts of attempted murder, and a single count each of kidnapping a child under 16 and strangulation across multiple indictments in connection with the 2017 incident. Yeah, he was a friend of the family. It was her dad's best friend. He had known the dad for like 15 years before the girl was even born. I know, you love that I'm using wicked. Hey, when in Rome, when in Boston. It says this trial will combine all of Hubert's indictments into one case because, as I told you, the charges were upgraded to include the rape charges in 2022 when the girl finally disclosed. And look, that's not uncommon. I have spent the majority of my more than 30-year career as a litigator representing victims and survivors of all kinds of horrific things. And the majority of survivors of such things as child SA rarely disclose, if ever, certainly not at 7 years old. And the fact that she disclosed 5 years later when she was 12 is also highly unusual. So that's not uncommon at all. The first day of jury selection was last Thursday. Before noon, 4 men and 2 women comprised half of the jury, chosen before Judge Karen Bell. Hubert is currently out on bail since he posted the $50,000 bail set in 2018, and partially due to the pandemic's impact on Massachusetts court systems. He was also ordered released on personal recognizance after his indictment on the rape charges in 2022. He appeared with his attorney, Kevin Larson, last Thursday morning in Worcester Superior Court. The two stood beside prosecutors Mark McShera and Emily Myers as the possible jurors submitted their answers to a questionnaire, spoke to the lawyers, and were told whether they were to be excused or released. Excused or seated, I'm sorry. Prosecutors have also filed a motion to take the jury to view the I-290 bridge, where Hubert is accused of throwing the girl. Larson, prosecutors, and the judge discussed on Thursday how the court might take all the jurors onto a boat at the scene so they might have a close-up view underneath the bridge. I mean, this bridge, let me see if I can find a picture of the bridge for you. Because there's more than one bridge over Lake Quinsigamond. And so it's not the newer of the bridges, it's the older of the bridges. I had one earlier. Actually, it's on the thumbnail. Oh, there's actually 3 or 4 bridges. Okay, so the one that it is actually on the thumbnail. And it's really high. But even before opening statements have been read, new details have already emerged, including contradictory DNA evidence. Sperm cells were found on the girl's underwear from the night of the incident in 2017, the Telegram and Gazette reported, but the DNA did not match Hubert. Instead, it matched the girl's father, whom she says never SA'd her. Though they haven't spoken in years, she reportedly said he's a bad parent, but has never been inappropriate toward her. There are a total of 54 possible witnesses on prosecutors' list, which includes the girl herself, the woman whose doorstep she showed up at, and what seems to be several of the girl's family members. It also includes more than 20 members of the Worcester PD and 2 from Shrewsbury Police, along with 3 state troopers and several emergency medical workers. So I think it was Shrewsbury PD because she swam up to the side, the Shrewsbury side. The woman whose door she knocked on was Shrewsbury. She called the police, so it was Shrewsbury. But I think where he threw her and where he kidnapped her from was in Worcester. And so Worcester PD is also also involved too. But the fact that 20 members of the Worcester PD are scheduled to testify as witnesses against Joshua Hubert And coincidentally, 48 hours later, after this occurred, he was scheduled to testify against Worcester PD in a corruption case. Just made me go, Hubert's trial is expected to fully get underway this week and could continue until the week following, lawyers said. What happened in 2017? The 7-year-old girl had known Joshua Hubert, or Josh as she called him, her entire life. He'd been best friends with her parents for nearly 15 years by the time she was born, and it wasn't unusual for him to be at their Forestdale Road home in Worcester for a summer family gathering. What was unusual, prosecutors say, was what happened hours after the party ended on August 27th, 2017, when Hubert took his best friend's daughter, still asleep in her pajamas and wrapped in a blanket, and drove off with her in the middle of the night. Around 2:30 a.m., Hubert placed the 7-year-old girl into his Saturn Ion and left the house, prosecutors said. For more than an hour afterward, surveillance footage captured him driving around Worcester and making several stops, including at a gas station, checking the trunk of his car on Southbridge Street, and at his girlfriend's home on Bernice Street. There, prosecutors say he told her to delete all of his encrypted data stored within LastPass.com, a digital password management system. Teacup Kraken, right. Both things can be true. Her dad could have essayed her and his friend could have kidnapped her. Predators seem to find each other, says Teacup Kraken. Hubert pulled over and got in the back seat with the child at some point in the drive, prosecutors said, and raped her. She was strangled during the incident with both hands, which left bruises across her neck and body. When asked if she had tried pushing him away, she stated, "I tried, but it didn't work." Worcester detective Dylan Patient wrote in search warrant affidavits obtained by Mass Live in 2018. Just before 4 a.m., Hubert stopped his car on the I-290 overpass at the Worcester-Shrewsbury line, according to the prosecutors. He threw the child wrapped in a blanket over the bridge into Lake Quinsigamond. The victim stated that she fell for a long time and landed in the waters below, Patient wrote. The lake reaches depths of up to 90 feet, with an average of between 21 and 36 feet. She stated that she began to swim to a building she could see, but the blanket she was carrying was getting very heavy, which made it difficult to swim. She then swam to a house and stated that she was able to stand up in the water, Patient added. The girl swam nearly 100 yards to a home on North Lear Street, where a woman named Maeve Gary took her in. After wrapping the child in a towel and giving her warm clothes, Gary called the police. Yeah, Marco, don't worry. They're not going to televise the trial, so we can't watch it anyway, but we can report on it. And if there's any boots on the ground in Worcester that want to go to the trial, it started today. The child was taken to the hospital after police arrived, where she gave a detailed account of the night, positively identified Hubert through pictures, and officers observed strangulation marks on her neck. At around the same time, a witness texted a friend joking that they'd seen someone throw something off the I-290 overpass at around 4:15 a.m. when they'd been driving on the highway earlier and saw a Saturn parked in the breakdown lane. The witness also saw a man walking around the car, prosecutors said. After his arrest, Hubert was suspended from his job at the Fay School in Southborough, a private co-ed school. It's also a boarding school. I think it's pretty prestigious. Does anybody know the Fay School in Southborough? Where he'd worked in the school's technology department as a systems support analyst since July of 2017. School officials said he did not have any contact with children. In a letter sent out to parents on August 29th of 2017, Rob Gustafson Jr., who was head of the school at the time, said Hubert was hired in early July in the school's technology department as a systems support analyst and called the incident a, quote, troubling event. Before that, Hubert worked as an emergency medical dispatcher in 2007 for the Sterling Police Department from May to August. He left the position during his 1-year probationary period, the department said. And that was yesterday's article from Mass Live, which seems to be the only outlet reporting on this. Somebody just said they sent me pictures of the bridge. FKR 2024, Melanie sent you some pictures too. Pictures of the bridge? I don't see them. I don't see them, girl. They didn't come through yet. Why isn't the dad arrested? Oh, that's a good question, Georgie. Faye is a prestigious K-9 boarding school, says Lisa PJ. Look at StreamYard with their new fonts. Can you even read that font? Just T says, technically, it could be planted. Oh, thank you. Did you guys tune into the Glare yesterday? The Glare did a 12-hour long stream to raise money for Aiden Carney's defense fund. I think they raised over $20,000 by the end of it. And it was fun going on that show. And I was on at the same time that Bob Alessi popped on, and Mark Betterow and Kelly Reed. And so it was fun. And if you didn't watch it, go check it out later because it was a good time. A good time was had by all. Let's check out the initial news reporting on this that happened all the way back in 2017. And this is brought to you by WBZ.
Girl is recovering tonight alive after being kidnapped, choked, and thrown off a bridge. The 7-year-old survived that fall, swam.
Is the sound a little bit low? Let me boost it a little bit. Come to your screen if you can and just take a look at that bridge.
Girl is recovering tonight alive after being kidnapped, choked, and thrown off a bridge. The 7-year-old survived that fall, swam to shore, and found help. Police say it was a family friend who did all this to her. And new tonight, detectives are asking for your help. They're looking for security camera footage of this incident. And WBZ's Ken McLeod is live in Shrewsbury where this ordeal ended. Ken?
Yeah, Liam, police are looking for surveillance video that might have captured the suspect's old Saturn Ion driving around in the wee hours of yesterday morning. Now, behind me, you can probably barely make out the I-290 bridge over Lake Quinsigamond. But this house right here is the very one where the brave but battered little girl knocked on the door. We spotted police boats surveying the crime scene this afternoon, even as prosecutors.
I mean, look at how far that drop is.
We spotted police boats surveying the crime.
Look at how far that drop is. I can't. God, the angel was with her. Her guardian angel was with her that night. Holy crap. And being able to swim 100 yards at age 7. That's crazy.
Crime scene this afternoon, even as prosecutors were shedding some disturbing details.
She had marks on her neck that are consistent with strangulation.
In court, we barely got a glimpse of the man accused of trying to strangle a 7-year-old girl and then tossing her off the I-290 bridge into Lake Quinsigamond.
It's just flabbergasting, honestly.
Ann Ford lives next to the young victim's grandparents on Forestdale Road in Worcester, where the girl had fallen asleep early Sunday morning after a cookout, until police say she was kidnapped by family friend Joshua Hubert.
Choked her and threw her off a bridge where she was able to get out of the water and go to a house that she saw with lights on.
Indeed, the youngster not only survived being thrown from the bridge, she swam to shore and sought help. And at 4 a.m., the woman living in this house answered a knock at the door.
And found the 7-year-old victim standing at her door in pajamas soaking wet.
Prosecutors say the girl has ID'd Hubert as her attacker, but they have not yet spelled out a motive. Makeshift signs greeted reporters at the suspect's house on Bernice Street, where neighbors described him as a dad who coached his own daughter's hockey team. His attorney didn't offer much.
All I can tell you is we're maintaining innocence at this time.
Back at the kidnapping scene, neighbors struggled with what the girl's family must be going through.
They're nice people, quiet people. I can't understand how this would happen to their grandchildren. They must be devastated.
We reached out to the woman who lives here and helped that young victim. She wants no part of the spotlight. Prosecutors say there will be more charges against Hubert. He faces a hearing on Thursday to determine if he's too dangerous to be released on bail. Live on Lake Quinsigamond tonight, Ken McLeod, WBZ News.
Well, tonight,
And they had, that's when they upgraded the charges to attempted murder. Here's another, around the same time, piece from WBZ.
resilient little girl is recovering from a frightening attack. That 7-year-old was kidnapped from a party in Worcester, choked, and thrown off a bridge. WBZ's Ken McLeod is in Shrewsbury tonight, where police made an arrest. Ken?
That's the I-90 bridge over Lake Quinsigamond behind me, and this is the house where the brave but battered little girl knocked on the door in the middle of the night. We spotted police boats surveying the crime scene this afternoon, even as prosecutors were shedding some disturbing details.
She had marks on her neck that are consistent with strangulation.
In court, we barely got a glimpse of the man accused of trying to strangle a 7-year-old girl and then tossing her off the I-290 bridge into Lake Quinsigamond.
It's just flabbergasting, honestly.
Ann Ford lives next to the young victim's grandparents on Forestdale Road in Worcester, where the girl had fallen asleep early Sunday morning after a cookout, until police say she was kidnapped by family friend Joshua Hubert.
Choked her and threw her off a bridge where she was able to get out of the water and go to a house that she saw with lights on.
Indeed, the youngster not only survived being thrown from the bridge, she swam to shore and sought help. And at 4 a.m., the woman living in this house answered a knock at the door.
And found the 7-year-old victim standing at her door in pajamas soaking wet.
Prosecutors say the girl has ID'd Hubert as her attacker, but they have not yet spelled out a motive. Makeshift signs greeted reporters at the suspect's house on Bernice Street, where neighbors described him as a dad who coached his own daughter's hockey team. His attorney didn't offer much.
All I can tell you is we're maintaining innocence at this time.
Back at the kidnapping scene, neighbors struggled with what the girl's family must be going through.
They're nice people, quiet people. I can't understand how this would happen to their grandchildren. They must be devastated.
Kind of the same.
The woman who lives here returned after dark and told reporters as she quickly ducked inside that she didn't feel like a hero and that the brave little girl is the real story here. Joshua Hubert has a hearing set for Thursday to determine if he's too dangerous to release on bail. On Lake Quinsigamond, Ken McLeod, WBZ News.
Thank you. Now to a WBZ exclusive here at 5 o'clock. A woman who heard.
Okay, and here's the woman whose door she knocked on. They got an interview with her. WBZ. Head explosion says the DNA stood up to a 100-yard swim. Maybe it could. I can't doubt her trauma or statements or what the lady saw when she opened the door. However, there's something else going on. I thought that was odd. I don't know if it could survive a 100-yard swim. That is the exact same thing I was thinking.
Heard a knock at the door in the middle of the night and found a 7-year-old girl who had been kidnapped and thrown off this bridge.
The woman tells us, despite everything that girl had been through, she was incredibly calm. WBZ's Christina Hager is live in Shrewsbury tonight with this exclusive interview. Christina?
Well, this woman who was able to keep the little girl calm and safe until an ambulance arrived said her parents should be proud. She was humbled by this child's strength.
I'll never forget her. Never forget her.
Maeve Geary almost didn't come home to her apartment next to the I-290 bridge on Lake Quinsigamond Saturday night. The fact that she did made all the difference for the little girl who knocked at 4 a.m.
A steady, calm knocking, no hammering. I went to my door and switched the light on and could just see in the glass of my door just tiny little persons.
Hours later, the child would pick this man from a photo lineup. Arraigned Monday, 35-year-old Joshua Hubert peeking from behind a courtroom door for a split second. Prosecutors say he was a family friend who kidnapped the child from this Worcester home during a party at her grandparents', that he choked her, and that he threw her off this bridge into the lake.
As she deals with this and when she grows up, I would just want her to remember how amazing she is. To swim the way she did with the resistance of wearing clothing in the water, to have had the foresight and the ability to just knock on a stranger's door.
How did you know what to do, what to say, how to act?
Gave her blankets, kept her warm, and gave her my favorite bits and pieces to sort of try and just help.
And it seemed to work.
I hope so. That's all I can hope, you know?
Gary is a PhD candidate who's worked as a bouncer and practices kickboxing. She prides herself on being tough. Now, as she looks at the lake, she jokes that girl she met put her to shame. The one thing that you hope she remembers from this?
That she's incredible, that if she's overcome something like this at the age she did, her life's going to be amazing.
Gary said she would love to meet this girl someday and do the one thing she stopped herself from doing that night because she wanted to give the girl her space. She would like to give her a big hug. On Lake Quinsigamond here in Shrewsbury, Christina Hager, WBZ News.
Thank you, Tara. I don't know why Mass Live is behind a paywall for me, but apparently this morning in court, the girl who is 15 years old now, she must have testified today because it says Worcester girl recounts playing dead to survive bridge attack as she faces the suspect in court. Normally, a 15-year-old Worcester girl would be thinking about her competitive cheerleading team, homework for her 11th grade English class, or playing games on her phone. But on Monday morning, she sat in front of the man she said kidnapped, raped, and attempted to kill her by throwing her off a bridge when she was 7. And then it gets blurry for me and it cuts me off and I can't read it without, oh, here, wait, I can redeem it without a credit card. Okay, hang on. Let's see if we can get more, because that's the only reporting that we're going to get, because nobody else cares enough in Massachusetts to cover this story. Okay. Why did they have to make it so hard? I have reader mode. I have everything. Hold on. Joshua Hubert of Worcester is charged with forcible child rape aggravated by age, 2 counts of attempted murder, and a single count each of kidnapping a child under 16 and strangulation, across multiple indictments with the 2017 incident. Here's a picture of him in court this morning. This may have been actually from Thursday. Yeah, this is from Thursday from jury selection. Thank you, Tara, for pointing this out to me. Much of this was encompassed in the other stories that we already read. It says on Monday, opening statements began after 9 a.m. By 10:20 a.m., the girl was answering questions before the court and positively identified Hubert. Mass.live does not name victims of, well, rape, which I would agree with because she's also a minor. So two things, for both reasons, you should not be reporting her name. She began recalling what happened the day of her little cousin's birthday party, a day that should have ended in a simple sleepover at a grandparent's house with her cousins. Instead, it became the fight of her life. Okay, so it was at her grandparents' house. Didn't some of the earlier reporting say it was at her parents' house? If I breathed really lightly and quietly, he would think that I was dead and everything would stop, she told the courtroom, recalling the night of August 27th, 2017. She's been rewatching what happened that night in her head for years. This also is much of the same that we read earlier in a different article. It's like a cut and paste job. During her testimony today, the girl told the courtroom that she woke up when she was lifted from the chair, but thought it was her grandpa taking her to the air mattress in the other room. But then she realized they had been walking too long and were outside. So she opened her eyes and saw Hubert putting her in his car, she said. For more than an hour afterward, surveillance footage captured him driving around Worcester, and the girl recalled him pulling over on the street multiple times, including at a gas station, checking the trunk of his car on Southbridge Street, and at his girlfriend's home on Bernice Street. There, prosecutors say he told her to delete all of his encrypted data stored within LastPass.com, a digital password management system. Again, when they do this cut and paste, it's not clear. He didn't tell the girl to do that. He told his girlfriend to do that. At one point, Hubert said, "Oops, I guess we're lost," she recalled. On Monday, she recalled trying to kick him off of her, she said. "I was thinking that he wanted me dead," she said. She said he tied a rope around her neck and put a plastic shopping bag over her head. She tried to pretend that she was already dead. "If I breathed really lightly and quietly, he would think that I was dead and everything would stop," she told the courtroom. At one point, she recalled getting put in the trunk of the car. Just before 4 a.m., Hubert stopped his car on the I-290 overpass at the Worcester-Shrewsbury line, according to prosecutors. He threw the child wrapped in a blanket over the bridge into Lake Quinsigamond. The victim stated she fell for a long time and landed in the waters below, patient wrote. The lake reaches depths up to 90 feet with an average of between 21 and 36 feet. She remembered being scared, but also slightly relieved when she landed in the water because he couldn't hurt me anymore, she told the courtroom. She stated that she began to swim to a building. We read that earlier, and that's in the detective's report. Let's see if there's any other testimony in here. She remembers watching Doc McStuffins, an animated Disney Junior series, on the TV in the hospital room. But as a 7-year-old, she didn't understand what grape was, she told the courtroom. She didn't tell anyone about that part until 2022 when she told her cousin. As the defense challenged her account Monday, the 15-year-old began crying, but she refused to stop answering. After his arrest, Hubert was suspended from his job at the Faith School. We read that earlier. Then there's a DNA section of this new article. Lawyers discussed in court Monday how the sperm cells were found on the girl's underwear from the night of the incident in 2017, but the DNA did not match Hubert. Instead, it matched the girl's father, whom she said never essayed her. They haven't spoken in years, she said, adding that he's a bad parent and struggles with alcohol. But she reiterated in court today, he has never been inappropriate towards her. Lawyers hinted at being able to explain the DNA from the father in opening statements on Monday. Hubert's trial is expected to continue all week, lawyers said. There are a total of 54 possible witnesses on prosecutors' list, including the 15-year-old girl. Well, she testified today. The woman whose doorstep she showed up at and what seemed to be several of the girl's family members. I don't know if anybody I guess if you're in the chat, you would not be in the courtroom, but it could be lunch hour right now. And I don't know if the girl's testimony is finished or not, but I would like to know. Here's a statement going back to eight years ago. This is August 31st of 2017. And this is Josh Hubert's attorney.
He has been brought on charges, and they are just that, charges. That's his family. You need to leave his family alone. They have a right to their privacy. The man is facing his charges, and he's going to defend those charges to the fullest.
So what is?
Why did you agree to the $1 million cash bail? Why did you agree? Because he also has a new charge out of Westbrook. At this point, no judge is going to, based on the charges alone. The man has no history with the court system. There is no reason to believe that he's going anyplace. However, the nature of the charges, no judge is going to allow someone out on that. So that's why we agreed to it. We'll deal with it when all the charges and all the facts come due, and then we'll deal with it in Superior.
So he's a friend of the family. He knew the 7-year-old. Is this all a big misunderstanding in his eyes?
I have no idea what actually happened, and that's what we need to get to.
When's he going to can't say what he was doing.
I don't have that answer
There's
yet.
surveillance video of him for 2 hours that the prosecutor mentioned. What can you say
There's
about
not
this?
surveillance video for 2 hours. They have him at one place at a gas station, which he readily admitted to being at, and there is no indication he's doing anything wrong at that gas station.
On the attempted murder charge, was he trying to kill her? Was he trying to kill the girl?
He wasn't even with the girl. Excuse me,
He
folks.
wasn't in the car
Can you
tonight?
shed some more light about him, his background, what does he do?
I'm not going to discuss this case until the case has been
Well,
done
no,
in
him
Superior
specifically
Court.
as a person.
He is a very nice gentleman. I have talked to him several times. He adamantly denies these offenses. That's all I can tell you at this point.
But just to
So
be
you
clear,
think
now
they're
you're
giving
saying
his
that
up?
he was not in the car and he did not throw her off the bridge.
Absolutely not.
Someone else did that.
up?
I have no idea what is going on. And until I can find that out, I won't have an answer for you.
How is your client holding up? I mean,
He's not doing well. He's a gentleman with no record, has had a great life, has donated a lot of time to community, and now he's sitting in a jail cell with, quite frankly, people that he shouldn't be with.
Are you
He's known
suggesting
this
he
girl
made up
his
the
whole
story?
life. Does he have any thoughts about her and the fact that she was injured?
He is very concerned with the fact that the child was injured, but he does not know what happened that
And if
day.
he didn't do it, who did it?
Obviously, I don't know that answer. I would have put a defense on today and had a trial. I'm just receiving this information. The police, to their credit, are still fully investigating this case, and they're getting additional information. And I'm hoping at some point we can get to the bottom of it and get this man back out and get on with his life.
Had he been at that party?
This happened in 2017. I see a lot of people who just tuned in. 2017. There's also extensive show notes below the video. If you're just tuning in and you don't know what the case is about, trial started this morning, openings, and this girl who's now 15 testified as well.
That supposedly the girl was taken from?
There's no dispute he was at that party. He told the police he was there. They are long-term family friends.
But he did not leave with the girl.
He absolutely did not leave with the girl.
Is the
Does somebody
7-year-old
else at the
making up the
party maybe
story?
did?
Is this girl making up the story?
Keep asking me that question. Obviously, I don't know what actually happened. And until I find that out, I have no further comment.
Do you expect the arraignment in Westboro today?
Today, absolutely not.
Okay.
Any word on when that will be?
I don't. We have to coordinate that with Westboro. All right.
Was he trying to kill the girl?
And here's another statement from the lawyer. I don't know if it's the same one or not.
He wasn't even with the girl. Excuse me.
She wasn't in the car with him at all?
So then
Absolutely
how did
not.
these allegations come about if he wasn't with the girl?
I
Was
guess
he
we're
ever
going to
with
need
the
to
girl?
find that out. He is a very nice gentleman. I have talked to him several times. He adamantly denies these offenses. That's all I can tell you at this point.
But just to
So
be
you
clear,
say the
now
girl
you're
made
saying
this
that he
up?
was not in the car and he did not throw her off the bridge.
Absolutely not.
Did she
Someone
make
else
all
did
of
that.
this up?
I have no idea what is going on.
My dear.
Until I can find that out, I won't have an answer for you.
Are you
He's known
suggesting
this
he
girl
made up
his
the
whole
story?
life. Does he have any thoughts about her and the fact that she was injured?
He is very concerned with the fact that the child was injured, but he does not know what happened.
At that
The
party
arraignment
that
in Westboro
supposedly the
today?
girl was taken from?
There's no dispute.
Sounds like it's the same, pretty much the same article with just a different camera. This is something called telegram.com. I think it's a local Worcester paper or station, and they also are the only ones covering this, or at the time, the only ones were.
Worcester man accused of
This is when the charges were upgraded. This is WBZ, August 31st.
kidnapping a young girl and throwing her off a bridge will face an attempted murder charge. WBZ's Christina Hager is live in Worcester for us. Christina?
Chris, today the prosecutor said investigators have surveillance video of Joshua Hubert in the time period in question. They say they also have an eyewitness who saw him on the I-290 bridge at about 3:30 Sunday morning. The 35-year-old was in Worcester Court here this morning on a dangerousness hearing. He was arrested Sunday and was in court Monday facing a kidnapping charge, accused of taking his lifelong friend's 7-year-old daughter from her grandparents' home in Worcester. And prosecutors say he choked her and allegedly threw her off the I-290 bridge. Today, the prosecutor said they are adding a charge of attempted murder. He may be arraigned on that later today or at a later date. This girl survived the ordeal. Prosecutors said she swam to shore, knocked on a door in Shrewsbury asking for help. We spoke with the woman who answered the door when she knocked, and she said the girl was remarkably composed and brave.
She was thrown from that bridge, swam to the shore, and knocked on the house of a witness who she immediately, even in that statement, identified the person who did those things to her, including strangling her, identified him by name as the defendant seated before you today, Your Honor.
Hubert is now being held on $1 million cash bail and facing 2 charges at this point, kidnapping and attempted murder. In Worcester, Christina.
Well, it was reduced because he got out on $50,000 cash bail, and he has remained out since 2018. And his charges were upgraded to the child rape charges in 2022, but his bail was not increased at all. Now, when I was poking around in my deep dive, call me Alice, I found this. On Reddit, so take it for what it's worth because, Reddit. But this goes back to, I don't even know when this, 1 year ago. Did they mention that Josh Hubert was an informant in an investigation by Diane Williamson into corruption and abuse of power in the Worcester Police Department prior to this incident? Then 48 hours before Josh was to testify against one of the Worcester Police Department, this happened. He got upcharged, but the bail didn't change and they kept him out on ROR. Now, of course, Turtle Boy covered this in 2017, and thank you to, I think it was Kyle that sent it to me. He covered it right when it happened in true Turtle Boy fashion. And here's what he wrote about it at the time. Go to turtleboysports.com and his YouTube channel. Give him a like and a sub. Badass 7-year-old survives kidnapping, strangulation, being thrown off a bridge by a douche nozzle Diane Williamson supporter when he accused Worcester police of corruption. So Turtle Boy was already on this corruption thing, that this guy was going to testify about corruption. And here's his article. Oh, he put the wrong bridge in the original blog. So here's the 290 bridge that the girl was thrown off of, which is much higher than the other bridge that a lot of people have said was redone. This bridge is not the one that was rebuilt. And he says it only makes her story of survival even more badass. He said, someone forwarded this email to us last night. Subject, child abduction. Hello, all. On August 27th at about 2:30 hours, Joshua Hubert abducted a 7-year-old female from her grandfather's home after a family party. Hubert drove around for a while with the girl, then stopped the motor vehicle and strangled the girl. He then stopped the assault for an unknown reason. He then drove for a while longer, and we believe he stopped on the 290 bridge in Shrewsbury. He then tossed the girl into Lake Quinsigamond and from the bridge. The female was able to right herself and walked to a residence in Shrewsbury. I can't even believe that she survived. And the police were called. The female has been steadfast in her story and, according to investigators, is very credible. Her injuries are consistent with her story. Hubert was placed under arrest at the police station. He was interviewed and denied any involvement. MSP, CPAC, Shrewsbury PD, and Worcester PD investigating. Then Turtle Boy goes on to say, today the Worcester police put out this press release on their Facebook page. 7-year-old survives ordeal, a Worcester man arrested for kidnapping. On August 27th at about 4 a.m., a 7-year-old female was found in Shrewsbury. She spoke to the Shrewsbury police, which began a collaborative effort between the Shrewsbury PD, the Worcester PD, detectives assigned to the Worcester County District Attorney's Office, and the Massachusetts State Police. 7-year-old was at a family party at her grandparents' house on Forestdale Road in Worcester. At about 2:30 a.m., she was taken from the residence by a family friend without the permission of her parents. She was put in a car, strangled, and thrown off a bridge into Lake Quinsigamond. She survived the drop and swam to shore, where she was eventually discovered with visible but not life-threatening injuries. Joshua Hubert, 35 years old, of 3 Bernice Street, was arrested on Sunday at the Worcester Police Station and charged with kidnapping. He'll be arraigned today in Worcester District Court. First of all, he says, Turtle Boy's words now, this little girl is gangsta as shit. She was likely awoken at 2:30 by this animal who then put her in the car, strangled her, and threw her off a bridge. And what does she do? Swims to shore like a badass. That's a big effing drop, man. I mean, look at it. It's crazy. And that's some nasty sewage-infested deep water. A 17-year-old drowned in that lake this summer. But somehow a 7-year-old girl survives it after being kidnapped, strangled, and tossed off a bridge. This is the most amazing story of survival I've ever heard. As for this mushmouth, Joshua Hubert, I've never heard of him before, even though he's close to my age and lives in Worcester. Anyone got his Facebook? Because if he has one, he's not using his real name. Needless to say, he's human garbage and deserves to not only be tried and convicted, he should be shamed publicly so everyone knows he's the kind of guy that kidnaps little girls and throws them off bridges. Oh, and guess who has come to this guy's defense several times before? And that is a picture of, yep, Diane Williamson. She sure knows how to pick some winners, and she went to bat for this guy not once but twice in an 8-day period back in 2009. Back then, Josh was in a custody dispute with his ex-girlfriend, Valerie Zawalich, for their 17-month-old son. She was a former police dispatcher who had taken out restraining orders on him, and he was alleging that the Worcester police were allowing her to have custody of the child when the court dictated otherwise. Naturally, Diane took his side because him and his lawyer were going after the Worcester police and accusing them of being corrupt. A police dispatcher until recently, Ms. Zawalich had a 5-year relationship with Joshua Hubert, the father of her child, Darian. They had shared custody informally after they broke up. In June, she managed to get charges filed against Mr. Hubert after claiming that he had kicked in the door to an apartment they sometimes shared. Mr. Hubert told police he had a key, was locked out, and no one was home. On August 3rd, the same day the city notified her it was holding a disciplinary hearing on a complaint she had posted police records about Mr. Hubert's family on the internet. She had secured a 10-day restraining order against him, which barred him from testifying at the hearing. Mr. Hubert and his lawyer, Nicholas Plant, are charging that the police took no action because Ms. Zawalich worked until recently as a Worcester police dispatcher. In a letter Friday to Chief Gary Gem, Mr. Plant said he's concerned that Ms. Zawalich is benefiting from inside baseball and that the department is protecting one of its own. So he kicked the door into the house and she posted true things about his family on Facebook. Yeah, these things are equal. Granted, there's two sides to every story, but as a general rule of thumb, I tend to side with the party that doesn't throw 7-year-old girls off a bridge. Just saying. I guess I misspoke earlier when I said that he was a dispatcher for Worcester PD. I guess it was the mother of his child. And then he goes on to talk about Diane Williamson having a long and documented history of attacking the Worcester PD whenever possible. And that was way before the grape allegations ever surfaced. So this story goes all the way back to 2017. Justice says he's been set up. I don't know, but this is interesting because Danielle says, Norman says, thank you, Melanie, for supporting Turtle Boy at the fundraiser. It means so much to the community. And a big yes that we don't live in a cage are outraged. Thank you, Norman. 4U20. Betsy says, God, I love it when I get a notification that you're live. Thanks for all you do. I love you. Oh, thank you, Betsy, for your 10. Crazy Cat Lady says, how'd they get her DNA 5 years later? No, I guess they got the DNA right away. They just didn't test it right away. Or I'm not sure exactly when the information came out that the DNA allegedly belonged to her father. It may have been all the way back then. It may have been closer. There's such sketchy information on this. FKR 2024. Hey, Mel, I sent you an email about this. Yes, you said that he was your son's street hockey coach in June of 2017. Season ended just 2 months prior to the alleged incident. What can you tell us about him? Can you tell us anything about him? I don't know. This is crazy. It's crazy. Thank you for your super chat. Mama Antonella says, I live 30 minutes from Worcester and I want to go sit at the trial. Is it allowed? Yes, they told me when I called. It's in-person seating only for public. And I asked how big is the courtroom? Because, you know, the Karen Reed courtroom was tiny, but they said, you know, there's enough seats for the public. So if you want to go, please go and then report back to us so that we don't have to rely on Mass Live behind a paywall. So Court TV made a motion to be able to have a camera in the courtroom and the Commonwealth opposed it. Shocker. Here's their opposition papers. Commonwealth's opposition to Court TV request. And this was filed September 3rd. Through a letter to this court, Court TV has requested permission to televise and live stream the hearing and trial in the above referenced case, scheduled to begin on September 2nd, 2025. For the reasons set forth below, the Commonwealth asked this court to deny this request. Quote, although the public has the right to be physically present in a courtroom, there is no constitutional right to bring cameras into or make audio or video recordings of courtroom proceedings. Pursuant to SJC Rule 119, a judge shall permit photographing or electronic recording or transmitting of courtroom proceedings open to the public by the news media for news gathering purposes and dissemination of information to the public, subject to the limitations of this rule. The limitations set forth in Rule 119 indicate that the court should deny this request. The court may limit or temporarily suspend such access by the news media if it appears that such coverage will create a substantial likelihood of harm to any person or other serious harmful consequence. Given the nature of the case, the age and vulnerability of the victim, and the extent to which it is anticipated that the victim will be referenced at trial, this court should deny the request. Live streaming coverage of the trial will expose the juvenile victim to a substantial likelihood of harm. The defendant is charged with attempted murder, strangulation, or suffocation, kidnapping, and aggravated rape of the juvenile alleged victim. She's 15 years old. She will be testifying about physical and essay that allegedly occurred when she was 7 years old. There will likely be photos of the alleged victim introduced in evidence documenting her significant injuries. Multiple members of her family, including her biological parents, will also testify at the trial and potentially expose her to identification if their testimony is aired live. It will be impossible for Court TV to broadcast a live stream of this trial without making the alleged victim's identity widely available in the community and on the internet. I agree that the child should be protected. I also would submit to you that there are ways of protecting the child without, you know, stating her identity. They don't need to name her. We see it all the time in trials where there's initials used for the child. They don't show her when she's testifying. Obviously, they don't even record her testimony, but they can record the detectives and other things and play that without naming the girl. There are ways of doing it. This would likely create a permanent record of hurtful and offensive public commentary that could follow her for the remainder of her life. Moreover, this record would expose the alleged victim to the stigmatization many survivors of violence experience. Given the nature of the charges, the victim's young age and vulnerability, this court should deny Court TV's request. Additionally, the court should deny the request because Rule 119 and the legislature have recognized the fragile nature of having young victims televised. For instance, Rule 119 states that minors and SA victims may not be photographed without the consent of the judge. Given the recognition of the need to protect young victims and victims of SA, the court should deny Court TV's request. Exactly, Adam. They would have to air it on a tape delay to ensure that no one slips and uses the name. Yep. I mean, yeah, they've done it before. Other courts have done it before. And then their conclusion is, in sum, given the nature of the crime, the victim's age and vulnerability, and the anticipated pervasive nature of the victim's personal information being transmitted during a televised broadcast, the court should deny Court TV's request. Then they filed a second opposition. And I'm not sure why they had to file a second one, because it's hard to get the documents on this case too. And we don't have the order, but we do know that it was denied. So let me show you their second opposition and see if there's anything different about that. Yeah, they do it all the time on delay. Sometimes they do audio only, right? Didn't they did audio only on one of the Lori Vallow Daybell trials. So here's their second opposition, and this was filed when on the 5th, 2 days later. And now they're submitting a second argument. Their second argument is you should deny Court TV's request because neither the Commonwealth nor the court were given sufficient advance notice of the request. Additionally, the Commonwealth need not provide an affidavit to this court from the victim regarding the likelihood of harm to her should Court TV be allowed to live stream the trial. Rather, as the court should deny the live streaming of the proceedings involving a 15-year-old victim where the charges involve attempted murder, strangulation or suffocation, kidnapping, and aggravated rape of a child. And then they say, first, under SJC Rule 119, a judge may require reasonable advance notice from the news media of their request to be present to photograph or electronically record or transmit at a particular session. In the absence of such notice, the judge may refuse to admit them. The last-minute notice of this request, coupled with the victim's age, charges against the defendant, and the need to prepare the victim and possibly obtain an affidavit on the eve of trial, establish that the court should deny this request because of the lack of advance notice. Well, this was filed on Friday after the jury was selected on Thursday. And they're saying on Friday, August 29th, at 4:53 p.m. after business hours during a holiday weekend, when the trial was to start immediately thereafter, Court TV sent the Commonwealth a copy of its letter desiring to live stream the trial and hearings in this matter. In addition to preparing for trial, the Commonwealth is now expected to discuss this matter with a 15-year-old victim and her family, provide an affidavit to this court assessing the psychological harm to the victim should the trial be live streamed, and prepare the victim and all the witnesses for the consequences of live streaming of this serious and violent criminal matter. Given that this matter has been pending for 8 years and Court TV conspicuously waited until the 11th hour to request the live streaming of a trial involving all of these things of a minor victim, this court has the authority and should outright deny the request, et cetera, reasonable likelihood of harm to the minor. And I can see their point. I can see that side of it for sure, 100%. But are there ways of doing it? Are there ways of recording it and streaming parts of it later, showing certain testimony, redacting certain things? I think there are ways. You cannot watch it live anywhere because the court denied Court TV's motion to live stream it. And here there's a case that the SJC heard, case of Barnes, and that was a 2012 case in which apparently they did live stream the trial. Wait, did they? Well, it says the SJC, this case from 2012, supports their position that it should not be live streamed. And the judge has wide discretion to do so, and apparently it was denied. I don't know. But I'm curious about the testimony because I think there's so much more to this story. So much more to this story. Let's take a look at the Commonwealth's statement of the case, which is their version of what they say happened. Commonwealth's proposed statement of the case. Commonwealth alleges that on or about August 27th, 2017, the defendant kidnapped KT, age 7, and those are initials, as you can see, from her grandparents' house in Worcester in the early morning hours after a cookout he attended as a family friend. The Commonwealth alleges that the defendant led KT into the backseat of his car and started driving. The Commonwealth, oh, I gotta, hold on, redact some words here that YouTube won't like. Hold, please. Gotta get my red pen. Okay. Commonwealth alleges that defendant defendant led KT into the back seat of his car and started driving. Commonwealth further alleges that the defendant stopped the car and began choking KT around the neck with his hands. The Commonwealth alleges that the defendant continued driving until he stopped again, entered the back seat, and inserted his P into KT's V. The Commonwealth alleges that this stopped when the defendant placed a bag over KT's head and secured the bag with a rope in an attempt to murder her. The Commonwealth further alleges that the defendant continued driving KT until he stopped on a bridge on Interstate 290 eastbound in Shrewsbury and again attempted to murder her by throwing her into Lake Quinsigamond. The defendant denies the allegations. XOXO, Joseph D. Early Jr., District Attorney for Worcester County. And if that name sounds familiar to you, it may be because he recused himself from the investigation involving the death of Enrique Delgado Garcia because Enrique Delgado Garcia worked as a victim's advocate or a victim witness advocate for Worcester DA's office, right, chat? And that was filed August 29th of 2020. I want to see the surveillance too. Same. Pauline Sweeney, thank you for your super chat. Can you do Rebecca Baptiste, age 10, case preliminary was on Law and Crime. It's absolutely shocking. Did it just happen? Was it just recently on Law and Crime? I'll take a look at it. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Pauline. I'll take a look. Appreciate you. What say you, my friends? What say you? Thank you, FKR 2024, for the pictures that you sent, but I can't publish a picture of him with all of those young street hockey kids in it because I refuse to, show all the faces of those kids in the picture. But she sent me a picture of the defendant surrounded by the kids on his street hockey team back in 2017. And she says that he was her son's street hockey coach back then. And that's frightening. Thank you, Tracy, for your Venmo. That's awesome. I'll take a look into that case. Is that a recent case? Amber Spradlin out of Kentucky? Is that something recent that's going on? Did you want me to look into it? I'm a little bit annoyed that the Kelsey Fitzsimmons hearing is not going to be on Zoom at 2 p.m. I'm also annoyed that whatever news channel it was reported that she was released to her parents, however long ago that was, 10 days ago, maybe, when they said she could be released on bail to the custody of her mother and stepfather, and it wasn't true. She's still in jail. Why did it take 8 years to bring this to trial? Well, they blamed the panty. Delay, delay, delay. There's also no speedy trial statute in Massachusetts. And, abada, basically. Really no excuse. I'm stunned that Kelsey Fitzsimmons is still in jail too, and I'm outraged about it. Aaron Spencer case has been pushed to January. I think the final hearing is in December. And it was already pushed once. Yep. Carly, she's still in jail. She was finally released from the hospital after multiple 3 or 4 surgeries after being shot in the chest by a fellow North Andover police officer. And she's still in jail. She hasn't been released. So the bail hearing is at 2 p.m. Mike Crawford is going to be there, he said, in person. And I can't find a Zoom link. Then the court told me that they are not going to have one. I guess they don't like us broadcasting this stuff. Massachusetts is getting mad. No, she's not out with her parents, Kathleen. She's not. That was false reporting. I have a source, and the source says no, she's still there. That's why there's another bail hearing today at 2 p.m. So I got the inside info, and it's horrific. It is a miracle that she survived. No, I know. There's no right to speedy trial in Massachusetts. Trust me, Mark Bettero's mad about it too. Thank you, Shane McGowan's liver, for becoming a new member. That's awesome. I think you're going to like it here. There was a motion to dismiss. Yeah, it's a motion to dismiss based on some very, very interesting constitutional grounds. I don't think it's going to be successful. It's based on the fact that Arkansas has not adopted the grand jury system, and the federal system has a grand jury system. And so I don't know that it's going to be successful, but it's a novel argument. And, Aaron Spencer's attorneys are not afraid to go up to the Arkansas Supreme Court, and they did once, and they had the gag order overturned. So that was a huge win. And now there is no gag order. Tell me what else you want to talk about. FKR 2024 says, I heard some rumors after it happened with regard to motive, but I don't know if any of it is true. I know. You don't know what to believe anymore. You read stuff on Reddit, and that could all be fake. You read stuff on the cesspool of Twitter, and that could all be fake. And who knows what to believe anymore. That's why it's so important that the public have access to what's going on in the court system, so that we can see the evidence, and we can see the surveillance video, and we can hear about the investigation. Thank you to, does anybody heard about the Kelly Shaw case? The Kelly Shaw case. Coincidentally, something Turtle Boy wrote about a long time ago too. Carolyn, thank you for your Cash App, who said, check the Kelly Shaw trial. Proctor is also involved in that one. That's a woman who killed her roommate back in, let me see. And they just made a motion to dismiss some of the evidence. And I haven't got the papers yet. But I'm going to assume it had something to do with Proctor. The Patriot Ledger has a report on it from yesterday, but that's behind a paywall too, because of course. Anybody have a trick for getting around the paywall? I'd love to hear it. Weymouth woman is charged with murdering roommate. Where the case stands. Kelly Shaw is charged with murder in the death of her roommate, Christine Mello, a 56-year-old Weymouth woman. Shaw's attorney, Neil Madden, said at a recent hearing he will move to suppress evidence collected from the Lake Street home in Weymouth, where Sean Mello lived and where Mello's body was discovered in April of 2024. So that goes back to April of 2024. Archive.is. So what do you mean? I go there, Grace, and then I open the article in there. I'll check it later. I'll also try and get into the court file and see if I can find out why they're moving to suppress some evidence. That was right before Proctor was suspended. Yes, and he was still being assigned cases. And that, I think, is what Turtle Boy's story was about. Like, he couldn't believe that Michael Proctor was still being assigned cases after everything that happened. A paywall is when, they won't let you continue reading unless you pay money to subscribe. Thank you, MPB. And there was a woman, right? There was a woman from the Ukraine, right, who was stabbed on a subway or a bus. But like, I saw some stuff about that, but I don't know what's true and what's not true either, because you just don't know anymore. I think there's video of it. That's horrific. You work in Lawrence? It's not in Lawrence. It's in the other one. Salem. It's in the Salem courthouse, because I did call and I called the wrong courthouse and they told me to call Salem. But thanks, Ashley. Believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. Agreed. Grace is on it. Grace is a computer wizard. Hang on. Yay, Grace. Thanks, Grace. And then it says, all right, so Madden, this is back to the, let's pull this up now that we got it without the paywall. Grace rocks. It says, a lawyer for Kelly Shaw, accused of murdering her roommate, Christine Mello, M-E-L-L-O, plans to suppress evidence from the crime scene. I mean, is there any chance that this person could be related to Ken Mello? Mello's body was found in the basement in April of 2024. Shaw was indicted on a murder charge in August of 2024 and has pleaded not guilty. A lawyer representing a Weymouth woman charged with murder wants some evidence left out of the upcoming trial. Kelly Shaw is charged with murder in the death of her roommate, Christine Mello, a 56-year-old Weymouth woman. Shaw's attorney, Neil Madden, said at a recent hearing he will move to suppress evidence collected from the Lake Street home in Weymouth, where Shaw and Mello lived and where Mello's body was discovered in April 2024. Madden told a Dedham Superior Court judge on Wednesday, September 3rd, that police searched the home twice to conduct what Madden termed so-called wellness checks. These visits were not done with search warrants, Madden said. Police investigators entered the house and had a long discussion with my client, Madden said. They came again that evening and had an even longer discussion with my client. 2 days later, they took her into the station for interrogation. Police used information collected during those warrantless entries to then apply for search warrants. Oh, well, doesn't that sound like Proctor's MO? The nature of the evidence Madden is seeking to suppress is unclear. Judge Peter Krupp ordered Madden to file the motions to suppress by October 28th. Krupp then set a November 3rd hearing to assign a trial date. Shaw was indicted on a murder charge on August 12th of 2024. She pleaded not guilty and was held without bail. Shaw was initially arraigned in Quincy District Court on charges of financial crimes and misleading police on April 4th of 2024. And here's a brief history of the Weymouth murder case. Shaw moved in with Mello at a Lake Street home in Weymouth in mid-January of 2024. Mello went missing between February and March, officials said. Shaw continued to stay at the residence, according to police reports. On April 1, police found Mello's body in the home basement covered with plastic wrapping, blankets, and pink aquarium rocks and other objects, according to a statement of the case filed by Norfolk District Attorneys Lisa Beatty and Christine Cullinan. An autopsy report found 17 sharp and blunt force wounds on Mello's head and body, A statement of the case said, a witness referred to in court documents as JK told investigators that Shaw showed him Mello's body in the basement in late March, telling him she hit Mello with a teapot during a fight, which killed her immediately. Kathleen, I'm telling you that that article from last Thursday is incorrect. It is incorrect. You should write to them and tell them that they lied. They lied. That is inaccurate. She was not. I read it too. I read it on the air. And then I was contacted by somebody who knows my source, who said she absolutely was not released. The judge is waiting for more information on the plan, the living plan, and that is why she is still in custody. And if you look in the court docket, they had to get a habeas to bring her to court today. She's still in jail. I know, it's horrible. They need to fact check don't believe everything you read. They need to fact check their articles better because they're wrong. When I tell you something, please believe me, because I would not lie to you. I just wouldn't lie to you. I wouldn't tell you without a good faith basis for telling you. Well, I mean, she didn't do a really great job of hiding the body behind pink aquarium gravel. Shaw and her best friend, John Harper, used Mello's debit card from March 2nd to March 25th in 2024, making withdrawals and purchases totaling about $2,850 at stores throughout Weymouth, Quincy, and Braintree, authorities say. Harper was indicted on charges of larceny, over $1,200 in motor vehicle larceny in connection with the sale of Mello's 2017 Buick LaCrosse. Really? She sold her car too? He was released on bail on June 18th, 2025, on a condition that he wear a GPS monitoring device, attend a stabilization program, submit to random drug and alcohol screenings, and observe a curfew of 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Shaw remains in detention at South Bay House of Correction in Boston as she awaits trial. Yeah, None of Your Business said they thought no one would miss her. So it seems like she was dead since March and they didn't find her body until... But apparently Proctor may have been in charge of that investigation too. And so therefore, they're alleging that some of that stuff was searched without search warrants and should be thrown out. Go figure. Goodmans are here pointing out that mass media doesn't care if information is real. It's all about the views. Yep. This is true. All right, my friends, it is 1:23 p.m. I am going to go off the air and I'm going to search high and low to see if I can find any information. Perhaps that person in Salem gave me the wrong information and they're going to put up a Zoom camera for the Kelsey Fitzsimmons bail hearing, because I'm sure that Tim Bradle is going to be fighting tooth and nail to get her released today, because she was supposed to be released last week and that was fake. Let me just check one more place. Nothing. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have all your notifications set, so that hopefully we will come back with that information. I'm also putting together a show for you on Mickey Steins, the sheriff who shot the judge in Kentucky, because some new information has come out on that. And so there are lots of things that we still need to talk about. Thank you to the moderators for keeping it classy today. Thank each and every one of you for coming in and hanging out with me for a little while, but I'm prepping a lot more things for you that hopefully I can bring to you soon. So smash the like button, subscribe, do all the things that YouTube likes. It helps the algorithm. And leave me comments about what else you want to cover, because we have some time now that things have settled down a little, or the things tend to pick up in September for trials. So we got to pick one to watch soon that we're passionate about. All right, my friends, stay cool, stay kind, stay classy. I'm going to see you real soon, because if I don't see you soon, I'm going to die.